Three, two, one.
Hello and welcome. Happy Sunday. The 2026 NFL season is rapidly creeping up on us. In just a couple of weeks, I'm going to start division previews. I'll go division by division for about 8 weeks, culminating with my playoff picks for the 2026 season. And then we will kind of transition into regular weekly previews where I'll talk players of the week, some start suggestions, games of the week, things like that. But today, getting back into it, I'm going to talk sleepers. I'm going to give you 2 sleepers for me for a fantasy football from each of the 4 positions. So I know you will be excited about this. Let's dive in. And first, I'm going to go to the quarterback position. My first sleeper is Tyler Shook. And look, you know what? I get it. People didn't know what to make of him when he was drafted last year. Wasn't viewed to be an incredible quarterback draft, but he was the second quarterback taken, and he actually looked pretty good going through most of that season. When he took over as the starter starting in week 9, from that point on, he finished actually as QB9 from a fantasy perspective. Now, there are a lot of reasons for that, and I'm not telling you he's going to be a QB1 this year, but he is a guy that's probably being a little bit overlooked. I have seen his ADP rise a little bit. When I looked at this a couple of days ago, it was down in the mid-20s. Now he's sitting at quarterback 20, according to Fantasy Pros for his consensus ADP. So it is coming up a little bit. Your window to kind of buy him low is closing a little bit, but I've seen a lot in this offseason while people have asked for a higher price for like Malik Willis or Kyler Murray. Tyler Shook has gone under the radar, and they have really built a nice base around Tyler Shook there in New Orleans. I like Kellen Moore as an offensive play caller and an offensive mind. They added Jordan Tyson. They brought back Juwan Johnson. They actually are pretty loaded at tight end because they brought in Noah Fant, another decent veteran pass catcher, and they got Oscar Delp, a rookie behind him. I like Devon Vele. I think he has a chance to contribute at wide receiver. They still have Chris Olave. They brought in Travis Etienne to go with Alvin Kamara, so they have a couple of good pass-catching backs. They have some depth, and I think they're in a winnable division, so this is going to be an interesting thing to watch out for. My next quarterback in the sleeper range is Tua Tagovailoa, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why? Well, look, he's going as QB 31 in PPR, and I think a lot of people don't know what to expect. Is it going to be him? Is it going to be Michael Penix? Penix has torn his ACL 3 times. He's still not cleared to come back for contact. He's pretty far behind because they changed coaches, they changed schemes. They went out and got Tua, and he's a strong veteran, and he is healthy, and he is on kind of a prove-it deal. And look, the last time we saw him playing with a good set of weapons all season, healthy in a strong offense, he finished as QB9. That was 2023. He had some injury issues in 2024. The Dolphins were just a dumpster fire in 2025, and he did look a little lost. And I'm not saying this is without reservation and that there are no questions about Tua's health and Tua's performance ability. But quarterback 31 feels low for a guy that I think could actually be a decent mid QB2. I mean, Drake London and Kyle Pitts there in Atlanta and Bijan Robinson, they're going to have a strong running game. They have some great passing options that they've invested in. And Kevin Stefanski is back there crafting an offense. And I think those are all good things that bode well. A lot of people were on the Kyler Murray train because he is going to a Minnesota team that has weapons and going to a quarterback whisperer in Kevin O'Connell. Well, you could say the same thing about Tua. And I think Tua is the guy that's going to start the season and probably stay in there as long as Atlanta stays competitive. And in that division, I think all 4 of those teams could be competitive. I don't think any one of them will be incredible, but I think they will all be competitive. So that's a couple of sleepers for me at the quarterback position. What about running back? Well, my first sleeper is Rico Dowdle, and he is a guy that is going back to a coach he's familiar with in Mike McCarthy. He was there for Mike McCarthy's last season in Dallas. That was his first 1,000-yard rushing season. He finished as running back 23. And remember, going into that season, we thought Dallas had nothing in the backfield. That will prove us wrong. Then he went to Carolina, and he actually had an even better season last year, better probably than you remember, finishing as running back 18, even though coming into it, he was going to a new team and he was going to be behind a guy in Chuba Hubbard. Well, that is probably some of the criticism here. He's going to a new team and he's going to be behind a guy in Jaylen Warren. But is he? In training camp, it seems like Dowdle has taken more first team reps. He's probably more familiar with the scheme and offense. And there is a reason Mike McCarthy went to go get him. The other thing I would say is Pittsburgh showed last year that even with Warren as kind of the de facto number one, they have room for two backs to contribute. Kenneth Gainwell was a big part of what Pittsburgh did last year. He actually finished as running back 16 while Warren was running back 17. I think Rico Dowdle has a chance to do the same thing, to be in the teens, to maybe be a strong weekly RB2 flex consideration, especially in an offense and in a division where they're going to be trying to move. And he's right now going as running back 33 in PPR. We've seen him outplay that the last 2 years in two different teams, and he's going back again to the Mike McCarthy system. Jaylen Warren doesn't totally scare me. He is not Bijan Robinson, a 3-down bell cow. And we've seen, even with Aaron Rodgers, there is room for multiple guys to contribute. So I like Rico Dowdle as being a little bit of a value against his draft position. The other guy I'm going to go with, and this might be a little too obvious, that is David Montgomery. He got traded from the Detroit Lions to the Houston Texans. I think we all think he's going to have a big role. He is going as RB21, so you'd say, well, I mean, is there more value there? I actually think that there could be. In 2024, when Joe Mixon came into the mix for this team, he actually finished as running back 17, and that was with missing a few games. On a points per game basis, he was actually running back 8. And I think having a strong and consistent running back presence back there, somebody who can run the ball, who can catch the ball, who can be that force in the offense, is something that the Texans were missing last year. Now, Woody Marks is there, and I think he will still have a role, and that will take away a little bit from Montgomery, who's never been an exceptional pass catcher. But I think Montgomery is going to be a dominant runner, and I think there is a lot of room for growth there. I think he can be a solid running back 2 option, maybe even low-end running back 1 option. I like the Texans. I think the Texans are a team that are poised to continue to compete in the AFC, and I like the fit there. So maybe not the most insane off the board pick in terms of value, but hey, sometimes you just got to go with what's maybe being overlooked. Now, if you thought that my running back choice there was too safe, you're probably going to be amused by my wide receiver options. My first sleeper at wide receiver is Jalen Nailor, who went from the Minnesota Vikings over to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders obviously do not have any kind of great receivers and don't have any kind of great receiver depth. Trey Tucker had a decent season last year, finishing as wide receiver 38, but doesn't exactly light the world on fire. The Raiders needed help at wide receiver. Of course, Brock Bowers is going to be the focal point of the passing game, but they needed to get better at the wide receiver position, and Nailor is the only substantive move they made. They didn't go and get a lot of people in the draft. They didn't do anything else. And I think there's a reason for that. He is currently going as wide receiver 61, which of course lines up with exactly where he finished in fantasy in 2025. But you have to remember, he was wide receiver 3 at that point in time. He was behind Justin Jefferson. He was behind Jordan Addison, and they also had TJ Hawkinson at tight end. And yet, over the last 2 years, he has posted 10 touchdowns. We've seen some explosive aspects from Nailor, and I think there is a chance for him to be the wide receiver 1, not the top pass catching option, but the wide receiver 1, and make an impact. And I think that that would be good enough to be flex worthy on a weekly basis, which is why I like him a little bit better than the wide receiver 61, indicating a wide receiver 5-6 position in fantasy. I think he can be higher than that, maybe in the wide receiver 3-4 cusp. I'm not going crazy, but I think there's value there. The second guy I'm going to give you at wide receivers is a guy that I had on my buy, sell, hold list, and that is Parker Washington of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Washington, I think, is still consistently being overlooked. He's going as wide receiver 33. in a role where he really picked up and started being a starter and stepping up in the second half of the season. He finished as the highest ranked wide receiver for the Jaguars last year as wide receiver 27. I really don't see any reason why he can't continue to do that. We don't know what we're going to get from Brian Thomas. He has not really clicked with Trevor Lawrence. He did not really click with Liam Cohen and the system. Jacoby Myers, a decent possession receiver. Travis Hunter, we know, is going to be a full-time defender, a part-time offensive contributor. I think there is a great opening for Parker Washington to kind of come out of the pack for the Jaguars. So I'm all in. He's still a guy I've noticed in trades and in other maneuvers that's going below market value. People thinking of him as a depth piece, maybe a wide receiver 4 or 5. I think he could be a wide receiver 3 for your team. Next up, we're going to go to tight ends. First tight end sleeper is Mark Andrews, and this might be a duh from you, but I think Andrews is a guy we've overlooked a little bit. His ADP, he's going as tight end 14, which isn't that out of line with where he finished last year as tight end 16. And I'm not telling you he's going to go back to being the second best tight end in football, but I do think that there is room for him to bounce back in a big way. He's still a guy that has a lot of chemistry with Lamar Jackson. He's consistently been an outlet and a focal point in the pass offenses with Lamar Jackson, and they took away his competition for touches at his position. Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar are gone. Last year and for the last couple of years, Andrews and Likely have really split that passing target at the tight end role. This year, a couple of young rookies, neither of which, we expect to have a major impact. So it's really Andrews again and Zay Flowers that will be, I think, the focal points of the passing game, with Rashad Bateman and Devontae Walker contributing. And I think that puts Andrews in a great position. It would not shock me to see him go back to being a tight end 1 this season for Baltimore. The other one on here, maybe another just duh moment, is Dallas Goedert. And if you thought maybe I was reaching with Andrews, Dallas Goedert's current ADP is tight end 15. And I get it. It has seemed like for a long time that the Eagles are trying to move on. And Eli Stowers is there, but young tight ends can take a little bit of time to get on track. And the Eagles made some pretty substantive moves in the passing game. They moved on from A.J. Brown. Devonta Smith is still there. They have another rookie in Mekhi Lemon. They went and got Hollywood Brown. They have some pieces that they're trying to mix in Philadelphia, and I like some of their depth. But I think Jalen Hurts is going to lean on guys he's known. And Dallas Goedert was tight end 7 last year. He was still a tight end 1 and still a key contributor, even though we thought maybe he was getting older and the Eagles were trying to move past him. And I really don't see any reason why Smith and Goedert won't be a focal point of the passing game, especially early again this season. I think Stowers and Lemon will get stronger as we go throughout the season. They are rookies. They're building into it. And if we were looking at 2027, Goedert wouldn't be on this list. But I think right now, he's being overlooked because they added a shiny new toy to the room, and because he's getting older, and because it seemed like for a while the Eagles were ready to move on, but they haven't. And when he's been there, he has been a good contributor. So he is another of the sleepers for me at tight end. So that is a set of 8 guys that I'm looking at that may be going under the radar that can provide some pop and some depth and some options for you when you get through the season. It is a long season, especially in Superflex. You need a lot of guys. You need a lot of options. These are some guys and some options that I think could outproduce where they are currently being taken and what people are currently thinking of them. That'll do it for today. I'll be back next week as we continue to get you ready for the 2026 NFL season. Until then, hope you guys have a wonderful